So I said to the guy, there's no way you're gonna fit those balloons. Hold on one second. Killing the punchline. Hello? What's up, selfpublishing.com? How have you guys been? I haven't talked to you in a while. Yeah, books are doing well. Books are doing real well. Launches are going well. I owe it to you guys, yeah. Yeah, what's up? You need some help? You want me to do a series of videos on the misconceptions people have when it comes to writing, specifically in fiction? And you're asking if I can do it. Yeah, I'm in. What's up, everybody? Dillon Barr here. I'm going backwards hat style today, so let me know what you think in the comments below. If you don't know me, I do a series of videos with selfpublishing.com. I am a former Amazon bestselling author for nonfiction books such as Breaking the Charts and The Happiness Gap, and current co-creator of a series of fiction books, comics, The Tales of Bestunia, where we help spark young kids' imagination and creativity to create within our world through the frameworks and stories we give them. I'm working with selfpublishing.com again today to bring you some more information specifically on the misconceptions people have when it comes to writing a good book, and we're here to shed a little bit of light on it. My biggest thing is I want to help people break into the industry of writing, and when these misconceptions continue to build and build and build, a lot of people get nervous, get scared to put themselves out there. So they need some people to shed a little bit more light. Hopefully you listening to some of these misconceptions and the truths I'm going to share with you will help you take the next step or the first step in getting your fiction book or even nonfiction book out to the world. But before we get started, you know the deal. I bring you content, you get to make fun of me. In return, you smash the subscribe button, you click the like, you add some comments, you help the algorithm, you help this get out to more people, you share it to someone that you know that's writing a book. There are a lot of people out there that write books. Do that for me, and I will continue to bring you more content when it comes to all things writing, fiction, nonfiction, book production, publishing, launching, getting your message out to the world. Let's get started. There are 7 main misconceptions people have when it comes to writing good books. Let's shed some light on them. All right, let's get started with probably one of my favorites at number 1, which is writing is easy, or writing just comes naturally to good writers. That is not the case. A lot of people think that if you're good at writing, you just sit down and the muses speak to you through the magic of the world itself, and you're just sitting there and writing eloquent paragraphs and sentences back to back to back, and it just flows out of your being naturally. There are a select few people in the history of the world that just naturally comes to. Writing isn't easy for everybody. It's a skill, it's a passion, it's something we must get better at, just like a sport when we like it, a subject in school, we need to get better. It takes persistence. Take Stephen King for an example. Stephen King is notorious for writing numerous amounts of drafts with meticulous editing, and he's been doing this for the last 30, 40, 50 years now. He was in an interview with George R.R. Martin recently where he told George asked him the question, how do you pump out so many books? And he says, well, I just have a consistent effort to get 6 fully finished pages per day. That's all he sticks to. And he goes back and he edits. Now, he can get 6 perfect pages done a day because he's dedicated 40 years to it. But the main lesson we get out of it is he is consistent with his habits. He is persistent with writing, so he can continuously get better. So writing doesn't naturally come easy to everybody. What is important is that you stay consistent with it. If you're not writing, sometimes you might have to go back to your plot and make sure you don't have any plot holes. Sometimes you'll get to a specific part of your plot in writing and you might say, whoa, if you're writing fantasy, I need to do a bit more world building here so I understand where this story is going and I'm making sure I don't have any plot holes. Go back to world building. But the main thing is stay consistent, stay persistent, and stay passionate about this process. Remind yourself why you like writing and what it is you want to get out to the world. Writing is not easy. It is a consistent habit that we learn to love as we get into it. All right, misconception number 2. Writers are always inspired. Inspiration just comes naturally into their being, which can then be channeled and put on pages in front of them. That's not always the case. This is a creative process. And like any process, you're going to have ebbs and flows. You're going to have times of great inspiration and you feel called to this, and you're going to have times of immense uncertainty and doubt. It's part of the process. Your job as an aspiring author is to work with the process. Let's take J.K. Rowling for an example. She has been in interviews saying that when she got all that rejection, she lost inspiration. She dealt with uncertainty. And this is while she was putting together one of the best series of our time in Harry Potter. She learned to work with the process. Again, staying committed doesn't mean we have to be on all the time. Know ourselves of when to take breaks, but we know we're constantly working towards something. And to help yourself as a writer with uncertainty, make sure you have a creative environment around you. Creative blocks happen when we're in a room by ourselves, being our own worst critic in our mind. Get out, get in nature, put your feet in the dirt, put your feet in the grass, talk to people that are in your network that believe in you. Mix things up. Go work in a different environment if you need to. Go to a coffee shop, but mix things up. And a big thing that I try to remind people is remind yourself consistently why you're doing this. Have people in your network, change up your environment, and create an environment that for you creates inspiration. For me, working on the series Tales of Bestunia, I love having artwork around me. Specifically, this is artwork created by my cousin, seeing the beauty in my family expressed through art. I have the Tales of Bestunia, I have a world map next to me. I have my inspiration from my comic, my totem Funko Pops next to me. It keeps me in this energy of creativity, allegory, analogies, lessons through characters. If you're down, ask yourself, how can I turn this emotion, this frustration, this uncertainty into a good character? And spend your committed time working on a character template. Maybe it's a character that comes into your book, maybe it's not, but you're persistently working on something you're passionate about through the ebbs and flows of it. Know when to take breaks, of course, but know when you can use some of that uncertainty and doubt and fuel it towards your creative mission in your books. Misconception number 3. Good writers only write bestseller. I don't even know how this is possible, right? There is a diverse array of genres and themes in fiction and nonfiction. There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of really good writers, and every book you put out is not going to be 100% your best work. And here's a question. Would you want it to be? And that immense pressure that comes with the next book, you just want to channel what you're learning. This is a personal growth experience for you, and it's a growth experience for your readers. Your readers get to see you become better. Let's take Toni Morrison, for example. Her work is undeniable, but every book that she has put out is not a bestseller, but she still has left a staple on the fiction community with what she's put out. Make this a personal growth process for yourself. Get better every time. One of my favorite quotes from John Maxwell, when asked from someone, hey, what if I'm nervous about my first book? John Maxwell said, well, just put it out there. It's not going to be that great. You're going to get better. He got better the more books he put out. You will get better. Your writing will get better. Your craft will get better. Everything you put out is not going to be brilliant, and that's okay. Misconception number 4. This is going to speak to some people, but not everyone, and that is all really good authors are recluses, and they live in a log cabin with an old typewriter all day long, just taking in inspiration from nature. That's not always the case. Good creativity, good imagination comes from real life experiences. Going out to the world, doing things outside your comfort zone so you can learn something new. And in that lesson, you can find an analogy, a metaphor, an allegory that you can use for a character, for a scene, for a chapter, for an entire book, right? Now, I could give you an example like Ernest Hemingway and everything he did, but with all due respect, I am no recluse. I love traveling as well. I probably know Hemingway, but I have spent time in multiple states around the United States, multiple countries around the world. I lived in Kenya for 2.5 years, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Southeast Asia. And this is really where I got to have authentic, genuine interactions with people, being my extroverted self, and learn valuable lessons. Meet incredible people that have inspired characters in my work. Getting out there and connecting with people is huge. Having your own little community of people that you can talk to and bounce ideas off. A famous example of this would be the Inkling, the University of Oxford. We think of C.S. Lewis, the Tolkien brothers, Owen Barfield, Charles Williams, all getting together to bounce ideas off of each other. They weren't being recluses because that allowed them just to get in their heads. They found like-minded people to bounce creativity off of, to tell them what was in their imagination, to get feedback, both positive and constructive. You don't always have to be a recluse. Put your authentic self out to the world, because that's what you're going to do when you launch your book, and meet like-minded people. Selfpublishing.com has a ton of people. Our community with the Tales of Bastunia and what we're creating in our Facebook groups and our YouTube groups, our YouTube channel, does the same thing. Find outlets out there where you can go and express yourself, ask questions, and get better. Don't always have to be a recluse. All right, misconception number 5. First drafts are just perfect. It just sings to you off page and you say, this is incredible. No, a first draft should be called a rough draft for a reason. It is a starting point. It is not the finish line. Take, for example, Margaret Atwood is known for having multiple revisions, multiple edits, so she can perfect the narrative of her book. A good book is like a diamond, right? It's rough at first. It takes polishing to get better. And I think really what gets in people's way is a fear of perfection. They want a book to be perfect, and when it goes through edits, it feels like people are tearing down your creation. I remember when I first started on my series of books, I had an entirely different concept that I would take to my coach at selfpublishing.com, and he would give me good feedback, but a lot of constructive feedback. Tore down a complete book before, and in my mind I go, oh my gosh, this is my baby, and it hurt in the moment. But hindsight, looking back at it, it was perfecting the message that was still in me, and I was adding more layers to it. I was adding more depth to it by putting it out there in its imperfect way and getting quality feedback so I can grow not only as a writer, I think as a person as well. It feels uncomfortable, but through that is where growth happens. Your first draft is not going to be perfect. So if you get that out of your mind now, it opens up all of this potential in you to just write. And worst case is people are going to tear it down and your book will get better. That's actually the best case. It's worst case where you're at right now, but the best case is people will tear it down, give their thoughts, and will tell you how to make sure people edit it properly so they're not just nagging you saying this sucks. If you ask for an editor, one of the things that we say is never have the editor tell you something's bad without giving you a potential way to reword it or a potential solution, right? If they're going to give a critique, it's followed by, hey, don't like this. What if it was this instead? Because it gives you something to work with. You can say yes, you can say no. You have the creative freedom at the end, but give people the power to help you make this the best it can possibly be. Now you're building people that believe in you and support you to help you get your word out there. So it's not going to be perfect. You're going to stay consistent. You're going to stay committed to this, and you're just going to put out a rough draft that isn't perfect so you can polish it so it can become perfect. All right, misconception number 6. Great authors don't need editing. Is this real? Can we skip this? Okay, no, I'll go in. Cool. Yes, they do. Hemingway, Fitzgerald had like great relationships with their editors, right? You're taking a manuscript to masterpiece. Manuscript to masterpiece. It's not going to come out perfect. This is the last misconception that we had where your first draft's going to be incredible, but you're going to need editing. You're going to form great relationships with your editors because they're to make you better. I remember when I finished my first book and my editor went through it, and of course they made their edits and I took most of them. I didn't take others because I knew the message I wanted to get out there. But I remember looking back at it and telling her, you made me sound smart. You made me sound more articulate. You made me sound more knowledgeable. Form a healthy relationship with your editor because they're only there to make you better. They're only there to help you out. So great authors have great editors, and it allows them to craft their message. That's how you really hone your craft. Asking for editing is not a sign of weakness. Asking for editing and for help, for me, is a sign of courage, vulnerability, authenticity to say, I don't know everything. Please help me here. Put yourself out there. Be courageous in this process. Does it hurt a little? Yeah, but you get up and you're better for it. You're more powerful for it, and you use that power to get your message out to the world. Authors need editors. And misconception number 7, writing is a lonely pursuit. Some people write because they love the introspection and introverted time that they have. But most authors I've met, that is not the case. It is not a lonely pursuit. They have networks. They have writing communities. They go out and find people like them. It can be scary to put yourself out there. That's what we're doing in a book. We're saying, this is my imagination that I'm putting into creativity to share to the world. A lot of times we feel like we're alone. Like, oh my gosh, who else has these vulnerable thoughts? Put yourself out there to find other communities, because when you do, you find like-minded people that you can share your passions with, you can share your work with, you can share ideas and lessons with. You might have a character that's just not working in your book that can work for somebody else. You're creating a network of helping each other, right? Putting your stamp on someone else's work by offering suggestions, offering feedback, offering to be a beta reader. Put yourself out there and find a good network to do this. I could use again the Inklings as a perfect example. C.S. Lewis had people like Tolkien that they could bounce ideas off of, and a bunch of other people within the Inklings at Oxford. I love creating my comics with my partners, Matt and Evan. They make what I do better. We can bounce ideas off. Self-publishing has an incredible community of people in their Facebook group, Facebook mastermind, where they're constantly asking questions, asking for feedback, asking for thoughts, testing concepts with each other. But creativity can be expressed through connection. You can become more creative when you connect with other people to give you different points of view for you to see the work you want to put out there. Writing does not have to be a lonely journey. Writing can be a beautiful networking experience. Writing can be a community for you. Writing can be connection. And that's what helps you get your word out there. Writing does not have to be a lonely pursuit. I'm a living, breathing example. And there you have it. There's some truth behind some of the myths and misconceptions of the writing journey, specifically for fiction authors. I hope it helped. If I could boil this down, 3 things to leave you with. Number 1, embrace the journey. Embrace the ups, embrace the downs. Stay dedicated through the pursuit of creativity and the pursuit of expression. Through all the tips and turns and toils it gives you. Have fun with it. Embrace it. Number 2, join Full-Time Fiction Live with selfpublishing.com. There will be a link in the description for you to find a way to join this community. I love the fact they call it full-time fiction because that's something that you want to do full-time. It's something that is consistent. It's something that you're going to be doing day in and day out because you love it, because you're going to enjoy the journey. You're going to enjoy the pursuit. And finally, don't be afraid to express yourself. You have a unique life where you have learned unique lessons through a unique lens that takes in the world to then express it through some type of allegory, some type of myth, some type of fiction, so people can learn from your character. As a fiction author, they don't even have to say, oh, I learned this great lesson from Dillon. No, they learned a great lesson from Joan Daniels. Let your future readers get lost in the characters that you have created because you have been courageous enough, vulnerable enough to fully express yourself. And that, my friends, is what it means to be an incredible author, in my opinion at least. So at the end of the day, at least you can say, I made a redhead super proud someplace in the world. I'm in Michigan. I hope you like this. Like, subscribe. Tell me what your biggest misconception is when it comes to fiction if I have not covered it in the comments. Tell me what you learned in this and what you're excited to start putting in place. And really importantly, tell me what your very next step is in the process. Maybe it's reorganizing your room so you have a place of creative expression. Maybe it's creating a habit where every morning you remind yourself why this story that you're writing is so important to you. Maybe it's putting yourself out there and finding a Facebook community to join. Maybe it's clicking a link in the description. Let me know what it is and how we can help you. If you like this, like, subscribe, and until next time, happy writing.